Welcome everybody to this month's Being You, Being With Them call. I am so excited about the way consciousness creates, because if you haven't heard, hot off the presses, in Access Consciousness is a conversation not about presumptive realities as much as it is about reactive realities. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you that I have dug in deep to this yet, but I'm excited to see what we can explore today, because our title for today was Conversations Over Consequences. And what I started to see was how much consequences come from reactive realities, and how reactive realities are first fueled a lot by presumptive realities, that we presume that the other person, be it kid, or be it spouse, or be it lover, or be it friend, or be it boss, or be it neighbor, or be it fucking person other than you. If we have a presumption about how they should react, we start to already form our reactive reality for when that thing is not showing up the way that we had designed it to be. So in unpacking this, what I'd love to look at, because we are going to widen the scope even further to include the unparenting in the parenting calls. Okay. So yes, on parenting, but as me and Kate and the beautiful Marnie Richmond, who is contributing to writing the second version of the parenting book, are exploring what the unparenting actually contributes to being with them. If you start to pull out all the places where parenting was actually gaslighting for you, what kind of parent can you be, and what kind of person can you be in the world? So with this conversation, looking at all the places where a reactive reality was already set in place for you. Okay, so if you didn't get it right, if you didn't follow the presumption of the parents, if you didn't choose what they would like you to choose, or you had your own reactive reality to their presumptive reality, and we're fighting back, how much were you gaslit out of your knowing what was true for you? Everything that is, we destroy and uncreate it times a godzillion, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. And how much are you still doing that to yourself? Okay. So if you create something that you don't like, instead of going, oh, that's interesting, what would I like to choose next? How much do you sit with your own reactive reality towards you, limiting you from choosing what's next? What if that was a learned behavior? What if you were taught how to have a reaction to you by all the people who had a reaction to you? Everything that is, we destroy and uncreate it times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. I dove into doing parenting classes, you guys, because of COVID, and I was finally willing to kind of expose who I was as a parent. But the more that we've gone on now, 2 years of doing these classes, the more I sit in classes that I'm receiving and be like, oh, that thing that they're talking about, I can find the thread of probably how they were parented. From this thing that's up in their world right now, I can easily find how their parents probably treated them. And then I look really psychic, because I'm like, did your mom do this? And they're like, oh my God, yes. But a lot of it is that so much of who we think we are and how we create with ourselves is now parenting ourselves from the way we were parented. Okay. Everything that doesn't allow you to have clarity with that makes it more ease for you to be you with them, will you destroy and uncreate it times a godzillion, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds.
I love consciousness so much because we literally pulled a clip from a podcast that Dane was on. And the podcast happened a little bit ago. We just hadn't posted it yet because there's been all these other things going on. And so we posted it yesterday. And it's all about how we are trained to lie to ourselves because we're encouraged to do the supposed to's, follow the rules, however that ripples out in all of our lives individually and collectively. And because that is set forward, and you were talking about it from the gaslighting point of view as well, because that's set forward as the way to be, then to go along with that, you have to start avoiding awareness. You have to start lying to yourself that like you have value, or that your value is priority. It's all about like putting the other things first, which then sets up the whole structure for the reactive realities, because it's like, well, do I do this thing that I'm aware of, or but then I might be bad and wrong, but I also don't want to judge myself, so I'm going to avoid, like, the tangle of all of this is like sitting right here in front of me like fish hooks or something. Like they're all enmeshed together with all of this.
Well, when you say that, what came up for me as like light and is to look at how much the programming of being put into this reality was actually designed to turn us on us. So like if we get polarity in, someone will fight for their point of view so hard that they will turn and do it to the next person. A lot of times a young child who doesn't have the body size to, or the experience here, or the whatever to navigate that. So it is a perpetual, like I call it the DNA of parenting, but that's like so loud now because it's like the system is just running itself, and like really getting that awareness. I think we know that, but the system's been running itself through us and acknowledging that, because and how Gary has said to us a million times that question in and of itself is an algorithm interrupt. Because the minute you go to true question, you're out of the supermind, you're out of the system that controls us, because that system is not designed to receive question. Everything that brings up or lets down can be destroyed and uncreate it, please. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys, pivots, and meows. Go on, baby.
And what I've been seeing with Phoenix the past like week or so, my schedule's been really busy. Like, like I get up, nonstop work pretty much until like midnight, like just so much busy to all of the things. And we're also homeschooling. So I was thinking about this yesterday of like, it's like being at the office and all of a sudden your kid just walks through the office and is like, hey mom, like blah, blah, blah. And so there's so many gifts to that. And I know that what we're choosing with that creates something really fucking awesome. So there isn't like the charge around any of that. But what I've been seeing this, let's say this past week, is like when she comes in, sometimes I get the, a little bit of the like frustration or impatience of like, but I'm right in the middle of something. And I'm like, and you're interrupting my flow. And I feel that building. And I get that all of this stuff is coming up to clear, because every time that I just like, instead of going to like what my parents would have done, of the like, keep it short, get to the point, I don't have time for this, like all of those things that were their reality. If I just like be with whatever this like, like itchy texture that comes up, and I breathe and I'm space with it, whatever she ends up asking or saying in that moment is actually such a fucking gift. Like it's hilarious. She has a true question about something. Like I mean, where I'm being with them, but she's officially become a woman. And so she has so many questions. Like, and she also has a lot of emotions about it too, of like, what the fuck? Why did I have to get this so early? Like, And so I'm like, why would I shut that down? Because of like whatever presumptive realities, reactive realities I have around time and work and busyness or whatever that is. So I think all that I want to say on the like end side of this is these things that are coming up to clear, there's something that's so possible breaking through that.
So true. And you just let us, like, I would love to clip everything that you just said right now, because what you just led us on is to look at the programming, look at the reactive reality, and look at what a child like wonder actually invites to whatever you are creating. And how if we didn't have the systems in place of when a child is to be seen and not heard, how they are in part of your life, not co-creating with you. Like if she was constantly invited, as she is with you, but if kids were constantly invited to co-create with you, and you guys look at the kid in you, and you and I have had a cool conversation this week about where you feel invited to co-create, what space that is for your being. And when you're told what to do in a way that it needs to be done and no one's co-creating with you, how that cuts you out of being. And what if, like, if you're in the middle of writing something, what if her walking in was actually a contribution to what you're writing? And that's what you just invited me to look at as well. Like, and so if we were willing to co-create with our kids, or if we had parents who were willing to co-create with us, how much more valuable would our being be with everything? If you were never a disruption, ever. If every time you threw a fit, or every time one of your kids threw a fit or was crying, what if that was exactly what was required in the moment and you honored that? Who would you get to be today? Wow, you're never a problem. If you were never a thing to have to be dealt with, how would you treat you today? Everything that is, we just started and created times a godzillion, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all night, shorts, boys, poets, and beyonds.